Okay, so this is the Speedo drive off the old Greeves that fits into the British hub company rear hub. In fact, it screws in with a lock nut on the inside, and then there's this cog which is pinned onto the shaft. You can see there's a hole there, and there's just it looks just like a plain pin, which was holding that in place. So I'll just take that off first before I can unscrew this from the hub, so the back plate of the brake. I've just taken this split pin out, and now it's a question of whether I can get the spindle out here, which is where the cable connects. So I've got a punch which is near enough the right size, and I think that will just push through. Give it a go. Certainly starting to come. Not the ideal tool. There we go. Okay, so there's a little pressed steel cap. Bit of really old looking grease on it. And here's the pinion. Just push that through. There we go. Okay, so it's got this split end which picks up on the cable. The cable has a sort of spade end, and it doesn't look too bad. It's pretty simple helical gear. It's not under any load to speak of, so yeah, it looks okay. So yeah, there is some grease in here. So it looks a bit dry and crusty, to say the least. But if I can clean all that out, I can at least replace it with new grease, which wouldn't be a bad thing. The other question is whether it's worth getting this other gear out, the worm gear. I haven't got this far, I guess I might as well. It looks to be just another pressed steel cap, just knocked in, although it's obviously had a bash here at some time, and it's bent the alloy in, and so this is no longer round. But still, it should be okay. I should be able to get it back in, provided I orientate it in the right way. So in that case, let's just move that out of the way. And how's best to do this? I think I will just stick it on here for a start. Just see whether it moves at all. It seems to be going. Yep, the cap is coming out. There we go. And it looks as if there's some kind of bearing in there. But no. Maybe it's just some kind of thrust washer. There's grease. Again, pretty crusty old grease. Looks like there might be some kind of water ingress there, which is probably where it's been bashed. But yeah, that's strange. I wasn't expecting that. I thought this pip on this side. But is that some kind of grease nipple? I think it might be. Wow, I never realised that. It looks like there's a hole that goes all the way through. So I think that is actually a grease nipple. Wow. So I assumed it was where's it gone? Over here. That it was there's a shaft coming out of here that went into a sort of bearing on this end, but evidently not. Wow. So probably have been greasing this before. That's annoying. Good case of reading the manual, I suppose. So I don't have a manual, but so here's the other gear. Again, doesn't look too bad in terms of wear on the teeth and that sort of thing. So these two engage at 90 degrees. Yeah, well, there's obviously a bit of wear, and you can see a bit of shininess on the teeth as they slide, as they engage. But certainly not excessively worn. That'll do for another 60 years or so. And so apart from this being slightly oval, it doesn't look too bad either. The grease is still sort of, it's not solid, but it's so it's pretty crusty. Not doing much lubricating. So yeah, I can clean that out, or in fact clean up everything, and get this what turns out to be a grease nipple clear, and put a bit of grease on and put it all back together. Good. I'm glad I took it apart in the end, as I was a bit dubious about whether it's worthwhile, but I've certainly learned something in terms of the grease arrangement, and it'd be good to get it cleaned up and greased properly. Good. Okay, I'll get that cleaned up and take it from there. Okay, so a piece of wire. See if this fits through here, and it doesn't. So who's that supposed to be? Oh, actually it's sprung loaded. Oh, cool. There's actually a spring, and presumably a ball bearing. As I push the wire in to this end, I can feel a spring in there. So there's obviously a ball bearing and a spring. So the ball bearing is held against this, the inside of this front hole to seal it. That is really impressive, and so I'm quite surprised. So it is actually a proper grease nipple, all within that single steel pressing. This is obviously brass in the back. So I guess they press the cap with the nipple in place, and then push in a ball bearing, a spring, and a little brass ferrule to form the grease nipple. So that is well shiny where it's been rubbing on the brass. Maybe those, I can only think those grooves are to allow the grease to flow across the face of that gear, so it can get round into the places it's needed. So again, that's quite a neat arrangement. I've obviously gone to some trouble to actually produce that groove. I'm not sure how they've done that, but that's part of the original pressing, whether it's been added afterwards. So it would make sense for it to be part of the original pressing, which it does look to be, I think. Okay, so that is surprising, and as I say, quite impressive to me. Good. Yeah, there's you can see the shiny surface there, which obviously wears against this end of the housing. So there is a groove across there. So I'm guessing that if grease is coming in this end, it can get past the end face of the first gear. Along the grooves, get round to the teeth. It can come through the teeth into this area and flowed through that groove and down the shaft. So again, so it's quite well thought through, I think. It's simple, but nevertheless quite a lot of engineering in that. Okay, I've got some molybdenum grease, which is just happened to have available. It doesn't need to be molybdenum, I guess, for this application, but it's good quality grease, so it'll do. So, how does this go back together? That is this one. Nothing else is there, so just stick a bit of stuff on there. And on the shaft. Stick a bit more against that bearing face in here. Good. And the other one, likewise. Some grease in the hole as well. Good. Right. So this is the cap with the grease nipple in. So that goes onto this side. So it's got this ovality, but I think that is the right way around to get it back where it was. In fact, you can see there's some marks. I'm not sure whether those are original, but you can see how they line up with the sort of castellations in this cap. So I'm going to press that in with the with the vise. Be a good way of keeping it square. Oops, famous last words. There we go. I don't think this one goes in very far. It was pretty much flush with the surface before. Grease gun, which actually has the same grease in as in the pot. And just see whether that works. Oh, certainly doing something. Yep, sure enough. Grease is coming through. Good, so that definitely works. The grease nipple works. And it's obviously something I will need to do from time to time. Because it's not something you do too often, otherwise grease will make its way out of this end and in the back of the brake back plate, which could be bad news, but yeah, within reason. But grease wouldn't go amiss. So the next thing is to get this cap back in, which needs to go down below the split pin hole and needs to be aligned so that the split pin lines up with one of these castellations on the cap. So let's do that, something like that. Looks about right. So I can certainly start it off in the vise, I think. But we'll need to do something else because it needs to go down below the edge of the housing. It's a good start. Yeah, so that socket is just a nice size to fit in there. Shouldn't let me push this in the rest of the way. it needs to go in, I guess, quite a long way actually. Probably at least that far. That's about right actually. There's the old split pin. Yeah, that's free all the way across now. There we go. Gosh, nicely re-lubricated and cleaned. Everything works. And I now know about the grease nipple. Fancy that. I'm sure loads of people seeing this will think I'm a complete idiot for not knowing that in the first place, but there you go. Right.